as I was introduced, my name is Pavel. What also is some characteristics of myself. I spent a lot of time of my 25 years in professional career in Microsoft technologies, but these days I am more and more technology agnostic. I will elaborate on that in a second. So this session is about MCP servers for Fabric and Power BI. Actually, I should really say Fabric. Power BI is just highlighting one of the workloads, but really it's about Fabric. The level of session I would say it's from introductory to intermediate, and the goal of the session is to make you familiar with MCP as a technology, or let's say standard, and then make you aware of what's there for you in Fabric and Power BI when it comes to MCP. If you want to connect with me, the best way is to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there, posting regularly, and also I have a monthly newsletter called Data Platform News, where I put my observations on what's going on in 3 data platforms: Fabric, Snowflake, and Databricks. So feel invited to subscribe. So let's move to the session. This is a bit of disclaimer before I start any session related to AI. I find AI as much powerful as dangerous occasionally, so be mindful when you start using the tools that I will be presenting, and not just tools that I will be presenting, but MCP in general. It may be harmful when you use it inappropriately, and I will elaborate on some practices that are related to security and not just security in one of the last slides of this presentation. So a few words more about me. I used to be a Microsoft MVP years back, starting with SQL Server and then moving to data platform category. I also worked for Microsoft twice. Last time I was very close to Microsoft Fabric product group. I was responsible for driving Fabric community, and then I moved to Fabric customer advisory team. So I'd say quite an adventure. These days I'm more focused on different platforms, including Snowflake, and somehow I also became Snowflake's MVP. They call it data superhero. So that's me. I also work with other data platforms like Databricks. So yeah, that's basically me. So just for those of you who are not that much close to Fabric, Fabric, as we have it for I guess 2.5 years now from general availability, is Microsoft's latest and greatest product for not just analytics these days, but for data and analytics. Fabric combines into one software as a service product unified workloads, starting from workloads that designed for analytics like data ingestion and integration, data factory, analytics, combination of warehousing, lakehousing, and data science, databases where they started with SQL databases, but it quickly moves beyond just relational databases. Real-time intelligence, so if you know things like Custo or Azure Data Explorer, you will find this in real-time intelligence plus more, because in real-time intelligence there are things like getting from insights to action with Data Activator. And also recently introduced Fabric IQ, which will be the topic of the next session at this user group. So ontologies and combining business nomenclature into the data platform. This is something that is very sexy topic recently. And finally, Power BI as the originator of Fabric. So really what Microsoft did as the foundation of Fabric, they took Power BI and incorporated different products with a lot of enhancements, with changing the underlying architecture, and they basically brought things like Azure Data Factory, Synapse Analytics, and all the stuff recently known from Azure to one product and made it unified. So Fabric comes with a lot of innovations, but this is not the topic of the session. I'm pretty sure you already had some sessions on Fabric, so I will skip all the greatest and best innovations like OneLake, etc. So, switching the gears, what is MCP, Model Context Protocol? So it's an open protocol, actually introduced first by a company called Anthropic. I'm pretty sure most of you are aware of Anthropic, because this is probably the fastest growing AI company in the world these days. Just to make it even expanded, Anthropic is a vendor delivering LLM models, and not just models, but also applications, agentic applications. So Claude is their product, and Claude LLM models like Sonnet, those are their products. And what is MCP? It is an open protocol that is designed to standardize the way how applications can provide context to LLMs. So in other words, how to connect applications to other applications that use LLMs and have some benefits. For example, how to communicate with Fabric in natural language. This will be the case of today's meeting. You can find more information on this website. The slide deck will be provided to you. I will share the link to my GitHub repository in the last slide. So don't worry, nothing will be missed. All right. So if we are talking about MCP and we try to find some similarity to some existing ecosystem, you can actually compare it to ports, or let's say, ports in laptop. So imagine a laptop, and you run on this laptop some hosts. Hosts in our case will be your applications, like for example Visual Studio Code, Cursor, or my favorite Cloud Desktop. Those hosts will be connecting to different applications using what we call MCP server. So MCP server is a set of tools, or let's say a connector, that allows MCP hosts to connect to different applications, services. Those services may be remote or local, and also that's how you will be differentiating MCP servers, local or remote servers. Local servers will be installed and running on your machine. Remote servers will be residing somewhere else. For example, will be hosted by vendors like Microsoft within platforms like Fabric. Today, I will be presenting mostly local MCP servers, but you will easily find some other stuff here. I think this analogy is the best way to present MCP server, and this slide comes from a great article from Nora Sakal. I believe she works for Anthropic, or she used to work for Anthropic. So feel free to also jump in and read this article. So once we know what MCP is, there are a couple of key phrases that you should memorize in order to work smoothly with MCP. And two the most important terms are MCP hosts, which will be your applications, as I mentioned, Visual Studio Code, etc. Your favorite applications, they are not limited anyhow, and MCP servers, because the MCP server will be what you need to work with platforms like Fabric or other external services that you want to leverage with your GenAI applications. All right. So what do we have today for Fabric? I'm pretty sure this list is not full. I might have missed something, but this is what I see publicly available and what you can use today. So first, there is an old one, Microsoft Fabric Admin MCP server, which is we'll elaborate on that in a second. But as you may imagine, this is for some administration tasks. Then we have Fabric MCP server. It's also provided by Microsoft. I'd say it might be useful, but you will see in my demo, and I will elaborate a bit on that. What can be the use cases? Then one of the sexiest ones is the MCP modeling server for Power BI, and I will stop on this one for a longer second with some demo, because I believe this gives a lot of empowerment in hands of Power BI developers and maybe also analysts.
How was it?
Then we have the real-time intelligence MCP server, one of two existing servers. This one will be local. Also, there is a remote server these days. I will point out to where you can find the remote server later in one of the demos.
Thank you for your offer.
If I may ask you to mute, thank you. And then finally, the last one recently announced at FabCon in Atlanta, Microsoft Data Factory MCP server, which, as you may imagine, is all about data factory. So let's move to all those MCP servers and let's see what they can do. I will present you with the demos of 3 of them. Super easy and super simple demos. I'm pretty sure you will be able to extend those demos for your needs. So let's start with Fabric Admin MCP server. I'm just mentioning this one because it exists, right? But the capabilities of this MCP server, I'd say they are very limited. What you can do is just list Fabric capacities and get details of specific Fabric capacity in your tenant, and also operate on those capacities in terms of pausing and resuming. So you can use this to just manage in a simple way your Fabric capacities. That's Fabric administration MCP server. Nothing fancy, I would say. Then we move to something a bit more interesting. I wouldn't say it's the best MCP server, but at least it's promising, because Fabric MCP server can actually use Fabric APIs to generate definitions of items, like for example lake houses, and even then you can use your MCP hosts and other tools to run those definitions on your tenants. So effectively create Fabric items in your tenant, which is quite a big thing, I would say, because you can generate a lot of those items. You can probably even parameterize execution of this generated API call. So that's what you can actually do. It also comes with some curated best practice guidance about how you create your items and how you operate with Fabric. So you can ask questions and get some knowledge from this MCP server. And then let's just have a quick demo. I will be using two of the tools that you can use with MCP servers, but again, it's up to you what you're gonna use. I will show you the configuration behind the scenes for Visual Studio Code first, and then I will switch to Cloud Desktop. So this is Visual Studio Code, and if you want to use Fabric MCP server, the best thing is that it comes as an extension. So you can simply install the extension called Microsoft Fabric MCP server straight from the extension marketplace, and you should be good. And once you're done, probably the easiest way to start is to start with GitHub Copilot chat. So I have it here, even open, and I will use some snippets that I prepared. But before I start with playing with this chat, let me quickly give you a glimpse of my existing Fabric environment. Maybe I will even switch to full screen with that. So this is an existing demo workspace called MCP demo. I have some artifacts, some items, but I will be operating on some of those items with MCP servers. And the first demo that I want to show is how to use Fabric MCP server to create another lakehouse in this workspace. So what I will do, I will paste a prompt that I prepared. Now, please note that this prompt is quite specific. I mean, I'm using specific name of the MCP server, and also I'm very specific about the workspace. Note that I'm providing the ID of the workspace. If you don't know where the ID resides, you can quickly take it from the URL. Let me just go back and zoom in here. So here is the ID of the workspace. So this is the ID that corresponds to MCP demo workspace. Okay. So I'm just copying that into my prompt, and then I say, hey, let's use MCP, Fabric MCP to generate the definition of the new lakehouse called demo lakehouse 1, which should be stored and created in the workspace new MCP demo. Okay, and the important information: new lakehouse should have schemas disabled because that's one of the options, right? So let's just submit this one and let's see what happens. Now, just for information, before you start playing with GitHub Copilot chat, make sure that your MCP server is actually enabled in the tools. So click on this button, configure tools, and then just check if Fabric MCP is marked as enabled and started, because that will make sure that you will be able to operate with this one. So yeah. I've successfully created the lakehouse demo lakehouse 1. Let's see if that's the case. On the way, it actually created a definition. Let me just see. It should be somewhere here. I don't see this definition. You could also say, instead of create this object for me, you could say write the definition into the file. So when you work with Visual Studio Code, the best practice is to always have a folder open when you work with GitHub Copilot chat, because that makes you also able to write the file, maybe some documentation, etc. So let's see if this lakehouse exists, if it was really created. Let me refresh. I refresh the page, and as you can see, it is there. Demo lakehouse 1 was created, and I used MCP server to create this lakehouse. Now, the moment here, you probably can ask yourself, okay, but Paweł, how did you authenticate it? How did you authenticate to use Visual Studio and MCP to create this lakehouse? So I'm a bit cheating here, because I was already running the Visual Studio Code and MCP here. On the first attempt, you will be asked to authenticate. So the web browser window will pop up, and you will be able to provide your credentials and log in. So I'm already logged in, and that was the only missing part of this demo. So as you can see, it is possible to create using natural language. It is possible to create items in Fabric based on REST API calls and Fabric MCP server quite easily. So that was my first demo, very introductory. Let's go further. Now let's talk about Power BI modeling MCP server. This one is probably the most viral, I would say, because Power BI is the most occupied workload of Fabric. So what you can do with this MCP server, you can connect to your semantic models. Semantic models that reside in either Power BI desktop files, or are stored in Power BI projects, or are stored in Fabric workspaces. All of the three options should work these days. When I was presenting this presentation for the first time, the only option was to connect to Power BI desktop, but I believe this time I can even connect to Fabric workspace, and it should work. So, and what I can do after I connect to the semantic model, I can build and modify semantic models. So imagine you can actually impact semantic model just by providing prompts, like create measures, maybe do some modeling like create relationships, etc. You can do bulk operations at scale. So things you normally would do with, I don't know, tabular editor, for example, you can do with MCP server. I will try to show you that in my demo in a second. Then you can apply modeling best practices. So you can ask the MCP server to provide you with kind of assessment of your semantic model and check whether it's not following some of the best practices and fix your badly modeled data. And then you can create even agentic development workflows, because you can then attach this MCP server to some of your agents. And finally, of course, when we are talking about semantic model, you can always query and validate DAX in semantic models. So yes, this MCP server allows you to get the data. If you are authorized to work with semantic model, you can see the data that sits in semantic model. All right, let's see how it works. For that, I will be using two applications. One will be Power BI, and another one will be Cloud Desktop. Let me just do a little bit of screen split. Just do it. Okay. Don't pay attention to the report screen, because I will not be playing with report. Rather, I will be playing with the data model. So maybe I will even switch to this screen that will show us the model itself. And let's maybe zoom out a bit. So as you can see, I have a model with 5 tables. If you work with Power BI, probably some of you noticed that there is a relationship missing. So yeah, let's validate this model and let's see how it goes. So if you work with Cloud, then all the options that are related to MCP server sit in settings. If you go to connectors, you can set what MCP servers can actually perform, what operations they can perform, and what tools can be used. So each configure enables tools, but also you have this developer tab when you can edit configuration, which is really stored in the JSON file. So this is where you actually configure MCP servers. You just paste some JSON definition of the MCP server. Behind the scenes, each MCP server has some application, or let's say method of execution, either locally or remotely. So as you can see, I have some commands running with specific arguments. So this is actually execution of some programs, right, to run the MCP server. And I have Power BI modeling MCP server stored with locally in my dtemp folder, and it will be running all the operations against Power BI. So let's try the following operation. And again, I will be specific because I don't want the LLM model to guess. So use Power BI modeling MCP to connect to the Power BI PBIX file currently open in Power BI desktop. I just have one file open, so it shouldn't be a problem here. Let's see.
So Mike, Power, you have some question in the chat. Maybe that will help clarify this. Okay, thank you.
Let's see. No questions. I don't see questions, but feel free to submit questions to the chat window. I will leave some time at the end of the session, okay, for additional questions. So yeah, we have the first success. It found the file. It connected to this file, and we can actually see the underlying data model. Let's say I want to list all tables, and I want to see measures and relationships, and I want to check if there are any relationships missing. So you still need to have Power BI knowledge and skills to work with this MCP server, but it can do things for you, right? Imagine you have a more complex model where finding missing relationship could be non-trivial. That could be something that can help Power BI developer as well, right? So let's see if it finds the missing relationship. I just hope everything works fine and CRUD works as expected. Reading the model schema. Okay, it even provides me with the model visually. Let's see if it corresponds to what I see on the Power BI desktop side. Okay, it seems like it presents, yeah, and it even visualized the missing relationship. Yeah, you can be more specific and say, I do not visualize, just present me with the bullet list of tables and the bullet list of missing relationships. So your prompting art will be a big thing here if you don't want to waste tokens on things like fancy diagrams, right? But let's say that in this case, I'm okay with that. I just hope I will not overburn my tokens, but that's fine. Okay, so yeah, let's add the missing relationship. As short as possible. So it uses tools existing in the MCP server for Power BI modeling, and one of the tools is managing relationships. And as you can see, this relationship was just created, so that's why the model is being refreshed. Okay, so let's try something a bit more fancy. Notice that there are no measures in this model, but there are columns that have AutoSum enabled on them. So instead of AutoSum, I want to have measures that will be doing a lot of stuff. So for some of the columns, like profits, quantity, and sales in the fact table, I want to create a set of measures: total, which will be a sum; total for previous year, which will be the same measure but for calculated for previous year, and then I would like to calculate year-over-year growth or decrease, so change year-over-year for all three columns. So I should have 9 measures in total after this operation. Let's see if it works. Let me check in the meantime if there are no questions. I don't see any. Feel free to. Yeah.
There are a couple of questions in the chat.
I don't see any questions in the chat, but probably because I am not a member.
Okay, I can tell you some questions while we are waiting.
Yeah.
So from Fernando Calero is asking, do you have to be signed into Visual Studio Code with the same account than the one used in Microsoft Fabric?
Yes, because otherwise it will be trying to connect to some other tenant. So the answer is yes. I was actually yes. In Visual Studio it will be using your user context. Yes, your Enter ID user context. Cloud Desktop works differently. Here it is using the default connection that is used by AZ login. So in PowerShell, you need to make sure that you are logged in from Azure CLI level to the appropriate tenant using appropriate user. So there are different ways to work with that. Yeah, but I just decided to skip this. That's a great question. You will probably. I think it will be very easy for you to find this kind of information, because just ask for how to re-authenticate and use MCP server on different tenant. I really don't think you will have any problems with that. All right, so let me just see if I have my new measures. As you can see, 9 measures created from one prompt. And you can be, but by far more spectacular here. Yeah, Vijaya, I have a hands up. You can unmute and ask question. Yeah, Vijaya. If not, let's keep it till the last minutes of the session. Okay. All right. So after I did that, I can even make the next move. Let's move the measures to the dedicated table. That's one of the practices Power BI developers do. So let's create a table, dedicated table that will be hosting all the measures. And then let's move the measures from sales table to the new table. And as you can see, I have a table called measures, and I have this set of measures moved to this table. Okay. And then I can even go further and start working as a business analyst or data analyst. Give me the total sales by product category and year. And then I should just see my MCP server running some DAX code and giving me the response from the query. Okay. Again, I'm working on the live Power BI desktop file. But you can connect the same MCP server to the existing model in the Power BI workspace. Sorry, Fabric workspace, right? It even goes with some artifacts to present the chart. So yeah, very nice way to present data. Again, you can be more specific in your prompts and just keep concise, present me with a table or just a text result. It's up to you. All right. Let's then switch the gears and let's move to the next one, which will be the RTI MCP server. If you're about analyzing data in real time or playing with data activator, this MCP server is for you. It basically connects the MCP hosts and clients, like for example GitHub Copilot, which we've been using in Visual Studio Code, or AI agents, with everything that is related to real-time intelligence. So that means you can effectively manage things like event streams. You can list, create, delete, update existing event streams. You can list or execute queries against event houses and their databases, and you can also manage activator triggers, create new triggers, set up notification channels, etc. So if you used to work with RTI, this one is for you. And let's see how it works. So this time I will be operating with this one. So Claude again, and let me just try once more. I need the web browser. Just scaled it down. Okay. So in this workspace, I have my demo event house. I even have it open, and there is one database called also demo event house, where I have two tables. Just see, yeah, two tables: bicycles and stocks. So let's go and try to connect to this specific event house. So I'm using this prompt: use Fabric RTI MCP to connect to Fabric Workspace. Again, I'm specific, and the reason I'm specific because in this way your prompts will be resilient in terms of even if there is let's say smaller LLM used like Haiku or some more specialized and let's say less featured packed, less parameterized LLM, you will still be able to get the appropriate results. Not every single LLM will be able to decipher your generic prompt into something meaningful and use specific MCP server. Another reason is I have plenty of MCP servers attached to the same session, so to not mistake the MCP server, I am specific in this matter. So let's see. Maybe I should run it. Maybe I can skip the URI. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so now it should use the RTI MCP server in the definition of this RTI, there is one thing that I can take directly from my event house. Let me just show you this. Here you have the query URI, and this is what is needed, and it's actually a part of configuration of this MCP server in the JSON file behind the scenes. So yeah, it connected, it listed the database, and it says, hey, this contains demo event house. And I have two tables, so let me do some analysis. And once I know that I have this stock table, let me do the analysis, which should be quite spectacular. So let's take stocks, which contains stock prices, including Microsoft stock price, and let's check what was the longest period for Microsoft stock price when it was growing day by day. And let's visualize that. So now I'm a specific, hey, Cloud create a visualization with plus and minus 30 days of margin from left and right, and then highlight the period when the growth was continuous and the longest, right? So let's see if Cloud is able to provide me with this kind of analysis. Let's allow. Yeah. So you saw one of the effects that typically happen when you run something for the first time. Typically, those tools ask you if you allow to execute some tool. You can also allow this tool to run without your permission later on. So I just clicked allow always. So that's why I wasn't asked. Okay, so now it figured out, hey, I have some columns in the table, so now I need to figure out the pattern for the right KQL query. Okay, it found some 10 consecutive days of growth, and now it's fetching full chart window plus minus 30 days as expected. And let's see how it goes with visualizations. I mean, Claude is great because it can go and present you some artifacts as a result of your requests. So it can go and present you with interactive visuals, but also it can create documents. It's great for documentation, including getting documents, Word documents as output. So. Yeah, it consumes more tokens, but I'd say the results are often worth it. Come on. Adding annotations, plotting. Yeah, and that's quite a nice visual, as you can see. Maybe I will just put it on the full screen. I can even save it as artifact. But you can see that probably in Power BI it would be quite difficult to create such a visualization. Additionally, it shared some more information. Hey, this is Black Monday happening right after this 10-day growth. So it's actually quite interesting visualization, and you can go with analysis like this far more complex in your KQL databases. So that's how you can use MCP server from the data analysis perspective, I'd say. Right. So the newest data factory MCP server, what you can do with it? First, you can manage Fabric gateways, and that means you can also manage VNet data gateways, which are available for Fabric capacities, the new gateway type. So that's one. Then you can operate on connections. Pretty useful. You can create connections in Fabric. Just remember that managing connections in Fabric is a bit tricky. Still, after you create connection, it's best practice to always share this connection with somebody, because otherwise, after you leave the company, the connection will be orphaned. But yeah, you can operate and create connections to data sources. And finally, the major task is managing all the goodies that sit in data factory workload of Fabric. So you can create data pipelines, which move data from data sources to Fabric effectively, and not just Fabric. You can create and manage data flows, which include some transformations in Power Query inside them, and finally you can use copy jobs. So let's say the easiest way to copy data from data sources to your Fabric items. So that's what you can do. I don't have demo of Data Factory. This is pretty new MCP server. I didn't have any time to give it a try, but yeah, it's there. It's provided by the Data Factory product team, so I believe it should work as well. So now, I wouldn't be myself if I don't present any comparison to what other companies do with MCP. This is not everything that Microsoft Fabric does with MCP. I should mention also that data agents, they are actually presented as MCP tools. For example, this is the way Copilot Studio can consume Fabric agents. So there are a couple of ways that where Microsoft uses MCP in a quite hidden way. But I really wanted to highlight one of the things. And the thing is how Microsoft provides MCP servers versus how competitors provide MCP servers. Notice that all the MCP servers that I shared today, they are stored somewhere in the GitHub repositories. In fact, they are not, let's say, SLA supported Microsoft products. So you use actually all those MCP servers at your own risk. While Databricks comes with a managed MCP environment where you have a single tab for managing all the MCP servers, including third parties installed within Databricks. And Snowflake operates with the database object called Snowflake Managed MCP Server, which allow you to store the same definition of MCP server as you store tables, procedures in the database, with application of everything that relates to security, like role-based access control and everything. So this is a differentiation, and I think Microsoft at some point will have to figure out a way how to effectively manage MCP servers within Fabric, not just as an outside local MCP servers. And I think the first step here is the MCP server, remote MCP server for RTI. Let me just show you that. If you go to Event House and you open the database details, there is an MCP server URI, and this is the remote RTI server, which means you don't have to install any application, any MCP application on your laptop or computer to operate with this specific database from using MCP protocol, and that's a good start. Now, there are a couple of practices that I want you to remember before I leave you with questions. So first, make sure you trust the LLM you download and install locally. All I've been showing so far comes from Microsoft GitHub, Microsoft repository of GitHub. So it's not some third party, but things developed by Microsoft people. I wouldn't fully rely on AI. So always validate things that are returned from conversations and even actions taken by MCP servers. You need to understand available tools. So when you download the new server, make sure you take some time to read through the documentation and the list of tools, because there may be some tools which you don't want to allow be working in your environment. Set up security beforehand. Unfortunately, AI is as long as it's great for some use cases, it will be a Pandora's box when you connect it to non-secured environment. If you don't have permissions, access control in place in your Fabric environment, I would be far from connecting with MCP servers to your environment. Never trust the third-party MCP, because they may come with harmful code. They may send your credentials somewhere else, etc. And watch out for costs and resource consumption. And it's not just about tokens. I was probably consuming a lot of tokens today, even with simple prompts. It's also about Fabric consumption, because at some point if there are heavy operations being sent from MCP servers, you will end up with throttling or what's there in Fabric, right? So a bunch of links. Again, repetition of the links to MCP servers with some additional MCP servers like GraphSQL, SQL Server, I believe, was there as well. Microsoft MCP servers. This is the repository where you can find also MCP server for Azure. MCP for beginners. This is a great starting point for everyone who wants to learn for free from Microsoft on MCP. And then a bunch of links from the community. My two favorite guys, Injai Park for Power BI and Kurt Buchler in general for Fabric. I suggest you watch their videos because those are really great resources for getting some inspiration on how to work with MCP and not just MCP with Fabric. So with that, my presentation is ready for you to download from this repository, github.com/parallelpo/presentations. Feel free to download the PDF version of this deck and use it. You can reuse it in your presentations. If you need PowerPoint, just ping me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to share PowerPoint as well. And now let's jump to questions. I see Vijaya has hand up. You can unmute. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, before my mic was not working. Thanks a lot. Great topic, Pavel, and I really appreciate you doing a live too. So that's really courageous.
That's always risky.
So, I know. So I have a couple of questions, but I'll limit to 2 questions today.
Sure.
So you already touched about the capacity. So is there a way that we can limit the capacity if it goes beyond, then don't kind of chop it off? Because I don't want to, because this is new and we are
so whatever you run from MCP is not new from a Fabric perspective. What you will be running are typical operations that happen on Fabric. I mean, refresh semantic models, read metadata, etc. Typically, I'd say typically, if you go with just listing your resources or maybe running some simple queries, those will not be heavy operations. But they may be heavy if you ask MCP server to do some heavy operations. So there is nothing new in MCP in terms of how you will generate, how you will stress your capacity. So you use normal ways like, I don't know, search protection, etc., to prevent any bad things happening.
Mm-hmm. So it's more of a metadata.
Yes, and
stuff.
Also, I am not sure if I would be happy to connect to production environment with MCP. Rather start with some sandboxing and development workspaces, because typically it's about development. I mean, for analysts, I would rather target to use agents.
Okay.
Because agents are dedicated for data consumers rather than MCP.
We did try some data agents, but we had some difficulty authenticating or adding it to the Copilot. So because it is not, I think there's some administrator thing like if how to that is one more thing I have to search on.
Yeah.
So how to do we produce a data agents with MCP URLs, and then I was trying to integrate with the Copilot so that others can use it based on the permission. So that's another thing, like authentication. When you did Claude, so does it authenticate through your login?
Yes.
To the data?
Yes. Oh. Yes. So basically, when I run Claude, MCP server connecting to Fabric plays in the context of the user that I was logged in the as the default login in Azure connection used by AZ CLI. So that's the nature. I know it sounds a bit weird, but that's how it works. At least for me, it worked this way. In Visual Studio Code, it's different because you just log in as you normally log in your profile using some entry ID and the appropriate tenant, and you should be good.
Thank you so much. I don't want to take much of your time of the group, so I'll leave the floor to others. Yeah,
Dipankar.
And I'll connect with you later.
Dipankar, my friend, hello. Thanks for inviting me.
I just want to say hi.
Yeah.
It's great to see you after long. Yeah, I got a question. The example you have shown, Paul, in Claude, say those, the graph that you produce, I'm just assuming this is for the developer, right? So Claude is a developer tool, or
No,
maybe business.
Claude
No?
is definitely not a developer tool. It's a general purpose tool. I would say,
Okay.
if you look at the videos from Kurt specifically, Bachler, you will see that he is using Claude mostly for rather data analysis part of the story. I'm just showing that everything is possible. If you work as a developer, you still can do things using Claude. I would rather switch to Claude Code instead of just Claude Desktop. So rather terminal stuff and Visual Studio Code, this is for developers, and Claude Desktop is more for business users, which would like to do something about data, or maybe are curious, maybe administrators curious about anything. It's a general purpose tool, but not coding, because it doesn't have capabilities like opening, storing files, building some folder structures, etc. That is where Visual Studio Code Cursor shine.
Thank you so much, Paul, and thank you again for making time for us.
Absolutely, always for friends. I always find some time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions?
Okay. Yes, let me read one question from the chat.
Sure.
I noticed that this is from Bernie. I noticed that you were running Claude in Visual Basic Studio, and that you were using Claude Chat and Claude Code. Is there any strategic reason you don't have Claude Cowork enabled?
I am not a heavy Claude Code user, I must say. I use a Claude not desktop, but the website version on a daily basis. Remember, right now I'm not that much heavy developer. I'm just testing technology and then delegate to my peers in the company. That's how C-level behaves. I was just curious, right? So why I showed Visual Studio Code? Because that will be more natural for developers, because you can work with files. You can, for example, operate on the folder where you store your PBIP file, the PBIP structure of data model developed in Power BI. So it's up to you. I'd say it depends on the role and your preferences. For me, Claude is the natural choice because I work more with conceptual work, ideation, rather than development. But that's a good question. And I also have, if I switch to Visual Studio Code in my laptop, let me just see. I could do the same by switching to Claude Code and running terminal and just ask some questions here, right? So I don't think I have MCP attached to Claude instance here, but that's also not very complex stuff. I just wanted to give you a glimpse on different tools, including GitHub Copilot Chat. So no matter what you use, MCP is universal.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm not seeing any more hands up. So if there's no more question, on that note, we bring today's session to close. And Powell, on behalf of everyone here at the Toronto Data Professional Community, a huge thank you for such an insightful session. We truly appreciate you sharing your expertise with our community today.
Thank you very much. Great questions, guys, and you have great community. I hope you enjoyed this session and found something valuable for you. Again, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any offline questions, that's where you freely ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To all our attendees, I would like to remind that our next event will be in evening of May 13. So stay connected and watch for the announcement. So until that time, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next month. Again, thank you, Powell, and have a good evening on your side.
Thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day on your side. Cheers, man.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.